Welcome to yet another broadcast. This is episode 3, Reframing ROI. If you've been tuning in, you'll know that Zulu, FlowZone, and myself, my good brother, we've been going in on ROI, reframing not just return on investment, not just ripple of state, and riding the flow state to get to the river of inspiration. That's the new ROI for you. Welcome to the river of inspiration. Let's flow, fam. Come on now. Brah, brah. Dude, that hat is so dope. I love that hat. Tony Stark in it. He's in a flow state. Come on now. All right.
Yes.
Let's do it. I thought we go into some breath, man. Do you want to lead us in a little breath, Zulu, to get us anchored in and activated before we dive?
Let's flow, fam. Okay. Let's
do it.
Get centered, get still. Any distractions, get rid of them. And I invite us all to drop into our deep inner smile. Allow the corners of the lips, corners of the eyes to curl upwards. Smiling into the heart. Smiling into the lower dantian, the belly area. Smiling into the third eye. I invite you to leave the past in the past and drop all thoughts of the future as you come into the present moment through the body, through the breath. As you inhale, feel yourself filling up with inspiration. As you inhale, let that smile broaden. And as you exhale, expanding, opening up from the inside as that smile deepens even further. Inhale, you're a sponge. And exhale, you open, expand, become even more present now. One more time, deep breath in. Inhaling that full moon energy, inspiring. And as you exhale, opening, dissolving, opening up from the inside. Feel yourself becoming more with each breath, opening up even more, becoming more yourself. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Wow. I've been doing breath work and stuff all day, ceremony, and I still am dropping in even deeper. Come on, y'all. Full moon time. It's full moon time, y'all. Wow. Well, hello, everybody joining us. If anyone's joining us now or later, just go ahead and drop where you are in the world in the comments. I'm curious about our global tribe here. I thought I'd do a little recap, Zulu, for those that are joining new here. You know, this is a little series we started about 3 weeks ago. And it was a dope little project and idea we had about reframing ROI, because especially as entrepreneurs, as business people, etc., you hear a lot about ROI. How do I get my ROI 10x? How do I get more return on investment? And episode 1, we did talk about money, straight up, return on investment, you know, traveling into the lower energy centers, the root, security, the sacral, how you flow energy, and a little bit of the solar plexus, your identity, willpower. Episode 2, we reframed a new kind of ROI, ripple of impact, which is how you're impacting the world, how you're stepping into the world. And so that's a little more of the heart center, right? We get into that heart center, the throat, your impact of your voice. And so now we've gone up into the third eye and the crown. We're going into the inspiration, the visionary levels with the river of inspiration. That's a new ROI right there. How do we use flow states, which has been, you know, it's in your name, Zulu. You're the FlowZone, and you got the FlowZone. I'm also a flow state practitioner, junkie, scientist, amateur, and professional, depending on who you ask. The flow state is a key here into all three of these versions of ROI. So today we want to talk about the river of inspiration. And to frame this in the bio-centered chakra system, whatever you see it as, you know, this is up here. This is the imagination, this is vision, and this is the crown, right? The way we can download information, right? We're downloading information from the cosmos, from source, from God, whatever you want to name it. Especially today on this Taurus new moon, you know, we got a lot of info out there. So maybe let's start, Zulu, with talking about, you know, I'll get into some of the breath and the inspiration, but I want to hear you talk about Dantian and the access point of how you get into that inspired flow and what it means to you.
Yeah, well, as you said, the inspiration when we often can be looking for inspiration, and oftentimes we can lack inspiration. And I feel that it's almost impossible to lack inspiration if you're breathing. So if you're alive, then by the very fact that you're alive, you are inspiring. You're in
Boom.
spirit, you know. So if you're breathing every time that you're not exhaling, you're actually inspiring. So in inhaling, taking an in breath, you're inhaling spirit, you're inhaling life. So just remember that you're alive. Just take account, take notice of the fact you're alive, and that every breath in, you're inhaling, your aliveness. And that can be one of the fastest access points to inspiration. You don't need to have a look at this beautiful piece of art or this beautiful nature, or you can just look around as well, and everything that you've ever seen is a creation of a thought, right? Everything around you was once a thought. So that's inspiration all around you. So the access points, as you were talking about, is the present moment. So anytime that you lack inspiration, feeling down, feeling not uninspired, you don't need anything else outside of you. You know, you're breathing and you are alive. You know, that's all we really need. And when we're talking about Dantian, it's about energy centers. And if we put the hands on the belly, so if I'm here, you put the hands on the belly right here. You know, this is our lower Dantian, and this is one of the, it's like the plug in to, if you like, the matrix in the back of the head. It's like the plug into the universal energy or the universal source. So soon as you're here and just aware of it, you can put your hands there, which brings your awareness to it. Anywhere where our attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, opportunity grows, right? So we have access to it. And this is something that I invite everyone to practice every day. Just have a few breaths from the center of your belly, just to center yourself. Anytime you're conscious of your breath, you are accessing the present moment. And the present moment is the access point of all inspiration, of all energy, of all presence. And so, like I said, if we're breathing in now, we can do that right now. We can breathe into our belly. And you can feel the aliveness come on your body. You can feel the aliveness turn on. And you know, we talk about the lower Dantian. I talk about the middle Dantian, which is like the heart space as well. Like the gut is the lower Dantian, the heart is the upper Dantian. And oftentimes people are breathing like shallow into the throat or into the chest. You know, bringing it deeper down into the belly will really start activating the whole being. And then we talk about the upper Dantian, which is the third eye. And this is like activating, like you said, we're breathing in that crown chakra, that source energy. And for me, anytime we're not present, it means we're not connected to our source or our power. So it's like we're going to feel a little bit disempowered anytime we're worried about the past or anytime we're thinking what's happening in the future. And I like to look at it as a conduit. If all of us are like conduits, and like if you look at like a cable, you know, there's a cable here that's connecting us all the way from the heavens all the way down to the earth. And anytime we're not present, it makes the conduit smaller, which means less energy, less electricity, less power can flow through it. Anytime we're present, we're going to be open. We're going to be opening up. And so the breath and the lower dantian, all of our dantians, our energy centers, all exist in the moment, and they force us back to the moment. So I see some comments here. The lower breath is the key. Happiness comes from inner self. Nothing external can make us happy. A
It's
little bit of
true.
both. 100%.
It's
You know,
true.
it is so true that all power exists in the now, and all inspiration. That river of inspiration is life. You know, so it's like if you're alive, you exist in the river of inspiration. And anytime you're worried, concerned, anytime you're feeling out, this is life's way of showing you that you're out of the present moment, or that you're out of balance and you're looking at things one-sidedly. You think, oh, I'm too much this, or I'm not enough that, or they're better than me in this, or, you're looking at things unbalancedly, and that means you're not present. And presence comes, as you said, inspiration in the moment, in spirit. Spirit exists right now at all times. So just remembering that, and that you are bathing in a river of inspiration, and all you need to do and to be, you don't actually need to do anything to be inspired. You just need to notice the fact that you're alive and that you are breathing, and as soon as you take notice of it, you can be filled up with this presence and with this power, right?
That's it, man. That's it. Some beautiful nuggets there. All inspiration, all energy exists right now in this present moment. It's not going to happen to you in the future where you're going to get inspired. It didn't happen in the past where there was some inspiration. This is really the key to flow states and, to this idea we're putting out here of, the river of inspiration, that type of ROI. It all exists right here, right now. And that's why breath is the key, as someone said, which I think is brilliant. I know this to be true because I practice every day, some kind of breath where breath brings you back to the body and back to the felt direct experience of the present moment. If you're in the head a lot, and I've been there many times, Ram Dass says, the mind is kind of like a bad neighborhood. I don't like to go there often, and I don't go there alone. And this is where we get stuck in society about mentalism and computation and calculation and mentation. The real inspiration is in the present moment. And I want to offer this insight. If anyone's vibing with this, like drop a little flow state in the comment. I think the best flow state emojis are the wave and the spiral. I know you dig those, Zulu, but the word itself, right? The word inspiration, it's to bring in spirit, right? In spirit. To inspire then allows us to expire. It's like a death practice. It's a life and a death practice, right? It's breathing in life, breathing out. And to be inspired is to breathe that both into your body, which is, your temple of felt experience in the present moment, but then also to breathe it out into the world. Because what use is inspiration, right? You get a great idea. Oh, wow, this would be a great product or service. This would be a great business or art piece. This would be a great project. You get hit with the idea, and we don't know where it comes from, right? Inspiration comes from source, comes from the earth. Like you said, it comes from viewing a great piece of art. Maybe it comes from watching a Facebook Live video. The inspiration will come to you and you breathe it in. It affects your body, right? Oh, wow, I felt that. Then what do you do with it, right? And that's where the out breath, you create in the world. And this is, you nailed it, Zulu. I love how you drew that the ROI here, the river, because a river is flowing constantly, right? All rivers lead to the same source. They lead to the same ocean. And the river here is life itself. Like the life process is a river that doesn't have an end point or a beginning point per se, but like a river, it's flowing constantly. It's flowing. It's flowing. So the degree to which you can breathe in inspiration, be inspired by spirit, breathe in spirit, whatever that means to you, no dogma religions here, and then expire and expose or bring out that quality in the world is the degree to which I'd say this is how you increase your ROI. This is how you want to increase ROI, whether you're an artist, a businessman or woman, whether you're a dad, whether you're a janitor, it doesn't matter. This is the inspiration that the river of life, it really asks of us. So That's kind of my wrap on inspiration. I'm a word nerd. I love to break down the word. And so just look at the word inspiration itself. It's about breathing in spirit, straight up.
And it's also can be almost a scary thing as well, like because I almost see life or see breath as well as a liquid. Like
Mm,
it might be like this gas, but it's almost like a liquid, and we can almost be like, oh, I'm too alive, I'm gonna choke, I'm gonna drown on this
right.
inspiration, and it's like, oh, if I breathe in too much, what I'm gonna drown on this liquid, which is life. But for me, I look at the lower Dantian as like a almost like a chamber, an infinite cup, if you will. So it's like this kind of bowl or a cup that can be filled, but it doesn't actually have a capacity. Like if you had 10,000 megaliters of like a milk bottle and you were just tipping it in, this cup could actually hold it and just keep holding it and keep holding it
Right.
and keep holding it. So when we breathe in, just noticing, that's why I say when we breathe in, we're a sponge and we're filling ourselves up with life and inspiration, and we're filling up, filling up, filling up. Then when we're exhaling, it's dispersing into this infinite river, infinite ocean of chi, infinite ocean. And then we can just keep filling up. And this is what unblocks and unlocks anything stopping us from being our full self, right?
Right.
And it's a great way to visualize it and actually experience it on an experiential level. We got the little one wants to join in the flow, right?
I know she does. She's being funny though. This is funny. Look at this. I'm gonna inspire her to come here. Come here, sweetie. All right. We got the
Hello,
Lucy
love.
in the in
Hello,
the in
love.
the flow. Lucy's inspired by the
Yes.
flow state right now. So I love this idea you're putting out about like the air and breath itself as liquid, right? Like, can we breathe like it's liquid? Like that's that life force chi, or if you're into Star Wars, this is literally the force. This is straight up the force. Like the force is all around us, and like inspiration and the river of inspiration is just you with your energy centers partnering with that life force energy that's always there. And this doesn't have to be esoteric to bring it all the way back down to 3D. As soon as you're, in a place of not being present, which means past or future, like you said, putting the hands physically on the belly and breathing into that instead of breathing up here, you might find yourself inspired in that moment. I've literally encountered this in my life so many times. I mean, honestly, the way I learned this was through stress, by being overly stressed and in my, anxious mind. I started out like, qigong, that sounds like a good idea. Yoga, people have been telling me to do that. And it's like, holy cow, the inspirations I would get after a qigong set or a yoga class, I'd be walking out of there like running to my phone or journal and being like, okay, this, next, this. And it's like, there's almost too much because I would get hugely divinely inspired. And what was I doing? I was moving my body, synchronizing my breath, straight up. Like, leave all the other like intellectual, spiritual stuff aside. That's all you got to do.
Move your body. And also noticing, I think noticing and listening as well, noticing that you are breathing. It's like
Mm.
listening oftentimes, oh, I hear people say, I can't meditate, I can't get present, I'm so distracted, I'm so noisy in the mind. I'm like, well, it's if you're listening, paying attention to what's happening, and if you're paying attention to the moment, it's very difficult to be distracted if you're actually listening.
Mm.
So if you're listening to that river, and there's a big thing that you mentioned there as well, that oftentimes I'll see people, we'll make a post, we'll share something like this, and somebody will say, oh my God, this was exactly what I needed right now, thank you so much, this is so perfect for where I'm at right now. And then I don't know, 3 months later, 6 months later, they'll be like, this was so perfect, and like, this is exactly what I needed right now. And I'm like, really? So how did you apply whatever it was that you needed, right? And they're like, well, oh, I didn't really do it. I didn't apply it. So the application.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, we can fill up with as much inspiration as we can, but if we're not expiration, if we're not exhaling and putting it out there, like you said, it's almost like where it's almost a waste, right? So it's like, yeah, inspiration is great, but then what are you doing with it? How are you actually utilizing this? You're filling up, you're full, you're aware of life, and you're actually accessing this flow, this inspiration. But then it's like, okay, what are you doing with it? How are you actually applying whatever it is was the download you received? Because if you just download, your system is going to get full and you're going to run out of space. So we need to actually,
Right.
put the downloads into practice. So you're actually, applying it, applications, right? If we're talking computer, it's
Totally.
application, right?
It's like holding your breath, if we want to use the metaphor, right? Like I can get all this inspiration. Oh, full moon activation, retreats, courses, workshops. And this literally was my past self. Like, oh, I have so much knowledge and like, oh, and then okay, what do I do now? Like, he's just like, oh, you got to like breathe it back out into the world. And this is where like the structure comes in. This is where the discipline and the daily action comes in. And you nailed it. Like people say this all the time. Oh, this is exactly what I needed in the moment. And then like, a day later, they're like, oh, how do I meditate? What do I do? It's like, well, if you feel that, if you're watching this right now, or you're watching this at a later date, I don't know how you found this video, and you're vibing with these concepts, like this is the time to take action. Like the whole idea of a river is you get in the river and you ride the current. Doesn't mean you swim upstream, doesn't mean you sink, but it means you get in and you trust the process and you let it carry you. And that's really what I want people to hear about this stuff, especially around, ROI, whether you're in a job or you own your own business, doesn't matter, or whatever you're doing, you know, inspiration is the most valuable thing there is. Like it's very valuable if and only if it's acted out and acted upon. And that's where this shift happens. There's a small segment where like I can ride the river of inspiration by just taking that conscious breath, choosing to take a conscious breath. That's a small way. A big way is like if I get a huge download or idea, I'm going to write it down fully and commit to it. And not only am I going to write it down, I'm going to create a plan of action to implement it, because it's not enough just to capture it. And I'm guilty of this in the past, of just like having great ideas, capturing them, but then not executing or implementing them and anchoring them in the 3D physical reality. So that's something I see a lot in myself, with clients, with people that are on these videos. I'm like, this is epic stuff. But this is really about implementation, exactitude, specificity, time and date. If you're gonna write an inspiration, by when are you gonna do it?
Mm.
And what time are you gonna do it?
Yeah. Well, they say, what is it? It's an idea or a goal without a deadline is just a dream, right? So the dream
Right.
world is always going to be up here, but it's not going to be brought down into physical reality. And this is why I think this is why I believe that the lower Dantian is so powerful, because it's grounding everything in to the physical plane. This is what brings those ideas from ethereal idea down into like expression. We've got the vision of it, we've got the expression of it, bringing it down through our systems, our heart, out into our power, into our community, and then physical body down into the earth. So this is what will bring it down. And you talk about, someone said accountability, and there was a question around, somebody asked, I think it was Tim says, any tips to convert listening to the download and turning it into action? This is what we're talking about right now. It is that actually having, what I believe as well is having people around you. Our environment is huge. So it's actually having people who are into that, who are into not just talking ideas, but actually bringing it down to earth. This is why I believe the power of a coach. Having a coach and myself holds me to accountability. Having other people who are around me who are like, yeah, that's great. So show me, where is the thing?
Right.
Oh, so you're inspired? Okay. So where is it? When is it going to happen? All right, cool. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm going to call you next week. And you're going to show me what you've done with this inspiration. If you have people around you who aren't just holding on to their little island in that river of inspiration and not doing anything, you have actually other people who are with you flowing in that river and going, hey, come along here. Or like, they're like, hey, I need some of that inspiration too. Like, come on down. Like, let's get it. Let's see it. Let's make it happen. I believe that's a strong tip that I believe, if I'm around people who are like happily standing on the side and watching, going, oh, I'm so inspired by that. that's cool. And then you're gone down the river. Or if you have other people who are just
Yep.
holding on to their safety of like, okay, I'm good over here. But if you have people who are just so used to jumping in that river and sharing the inspiration and embodying it, then it's almost becomes habitual for you. You're like, oh, this is how it's done. We're actually doing something where we're not holding our breath. We're jumping in and we're flowing with the river, and we're actually, adding to that river of inspiration as well with our own ideas that we're bringing into life.
Totally. Wow. You just like activated a whole metaphor that's powerful here. And this is the ROI. This is why this is like the creme de la creme. Episode 3. We're up here in like the visionary centers, right? Like this is high level stuff. And this is groundable into action. And we have we're stoked to offer an invitation into that very soon. But this river metaphor, right? So the river of inspiration is the river of life force itself. Energy wants to move. Money wants to move. Your relationships want to move. Your personal like creativity, words, thoughts, and deeds, it wants to move. It's a river. Okay, so we've established that as a metaphor. There are so many people in life, and I used to be one of them, clinging to the riverbanks. How trippy is that? They're either afraid. I know for me, I was afraid where the river would take me. Will it take me far away from my home and the people that I know and I'm comfortable with? It's safer over here. Let me just hold on tight, kind of resist the river, wearing my floaties. That's one type of person. Is like they're holding onto the riverbank and the river's moving, life's moving. Another type of person is sinking. They're sinking because they're holding on to something heavy that's not letting them float downstream. So they're clinging or sinking and going down into the water, right? They're like, oh, they're drowning. And if you hold on too long, you will drown. So that's another type of person. I'm sure everyone here can vibe on this. Toss us some hearts if you're feeling it. Another type of person is the hardcore hustler, grinder that wants things their way. This is usually where the mental field is overactive. And they're trying to swim upstream. So they're actually fighting the flow. And they might have a lot of strength. They might be really clever. They might have a motorboat, but they're still going upstream. So no matter what they do, and this is where Flowstates, Wu Wei, a lot of the things we're talking about, no matter what they do, it will not be as effective as if you were flowing downstream, straight up. Because when you have the momentum of life behind you, you will be the most impactful. You will have the most inspiration. You will have the most ROI. So this is really a surrender experiment as well as a grounding it into the physical. When you're inspired, by when will you take action on your inspiration? What are you doing daily to anchor the inspiration? These are some of the things that come up for me about this river of life, and like, where do I want to take it? Do I want to head downstream? And if so, if I have the courage to let go of the riverbank, how am I going to navigate? Well, for one, I got to stay afloat, which means I got to keep breathing. I got to keep inspiring, expiring, sharing with the world, and letting the river guide me as much as I have a goal in mind. And that's a tricky like middle point, right? Is like to be guided by life and trust in the divine flow, and to have a destination and to be using the mind in a positive way. I think that's where all these points intersect. And if you guys have questions, now's the time. Toss them in the comments. I saw a few people weighing in with some epic stuff. Dylan says he used to swim upstream. I feel ya.
Christine says, I have so much anxiety while I watch this. I need to apply all that I know to my life so I can share it with the world. I know this is my destiny. So it's like anxiety is the worry, the concern about a reality that doesn't exist yet. So it's like when we have anxiety, it's a future image in our mind that we're concerned about, which isn't actually happening. It's in our mind. That's what anxiety is. It's like if we hear a noise, for instance, if we're in the dark and we hear a noise, we don't actually know what it is, but it sparks a fear, and we build this picture in our mind that we're worried, concerned, fearful of. So this is all anxiety really is. And so it's nice to notice it, that we have the anxiety. And if we come back into the moment and come back to the breath, and just we bring ourselves back to the moment and less worried about what is in the future, because we don't know. And oftentimes if we buy into the anxiety, then we can start creating this thing, right? And oftentimes when we just like turn the light on or turn towards the fear or turn towards the thing that we're worried about, we find out, oh, it's just the like, you know, it's like the monster under the bed, you know, oh, it's just a little ant or a little bug, which we thought was this massive monster in our mind, right?
Right. Totally. Totally. And this is the thing, a lot of people on here, Keith's saying definitely not great at going into flow most of the time. I'm swimming upstream. Christine, I've avoided all deep relationship. Dylan, I used to flow upstream. Christine saying I cling. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Guilty, people saying well they want accountability. I mean, this is something we all share, right? Like life is not set up in the mainstream culture to talk about this stuff, about trusting your
Mm.
life force, about trusting life itself, about trusting in this flow. You know, it's not talked about enough. And that's where like we can really come in here and change that paradigm. We can
And
change that paradigm.
this
We
is
are changing
exactly
the
what
paradigm.
this is exactly what we're talking about. You touched on it earlier about finding this middle point, you know, and I believe life is the balancing act between making it happen and allowing it to happen. So
Yes.
this is where we get to dive into this river and be guided by it without it being too dangerous, without it being like, okay, cool, I'm gonna either drown, sink, or get swept up by the waves that life flows to us, and actually really trust in the process. So it's like, all right, where do I want to go? I can set my destination, my GPS. All right, I'm gonna go here in the destination. It's like how I'm gonna get there, I don't know. I know why I'm gonna get there, and this is setting things like your why. And I'm a massive believer that presence is purpose. So the more present we are, the more purposeful our thoughts, words, and actions are going to be. So the more we cultivate presence, then the more trust we can have in this river. And we're not going to feel like, you know, anxiety exists in the future, and worry and concern, depression exists in this projection of what isn't, you know, what isn't in our current reality. So the more present we can become, we can cast our destination, input our GPS coordinates, and then it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to dive in and allow it to happen. So I'm making it happen and I'm allowing it to happen at the same time. And
Yes.
this is exactly why I have structures. I don't know about you, but I have structures. Like I have yearly themes. I have, you know, I have ideas. I have an intention for my year or intention for my day. I have top three priorities that I'm going to do. These are specific, actionable. You know, this is making it happen. But then how it comes about is as I'm in the moment present, I'm watching it happen. I'm watching it unfold
Right.
as it happens. And this is engaging with life, you know. So this is the exact, I guess, remedy or how would you say, the prescription for people who are like, yeah, I have all this flow, I have struggle going in flow, but how do I ground it in? It's having structures that allow you to actually dive in consciously and not have to worry about, you know, Dylan was talking about he used to swim upstream. Dylan's part of my mastermind, and he's gone from drowning into now he's actually engaged in life, and he's the one who is getting to guide where and how, or where it happens, not necessarily how it happens, but definitely where he's going, and not feel like he's drowning in that. And this is, you know, this is the difference between life, I guess, happening to you and you engaging in life, living life, and feeling alive.
Bingo. Bingo. And one thing I want to say about the river and how people learn to swim. I know for me, growing up in the United States, in Texas, and now in California, there's a lot of like overdoing. So it's like all teaching you to swim upstream. Don't trust your body. Don't trust instincts. You need to make X amount of money. You need a family, white picket fence. You need a car. You need the job. So swim, grind. It's like, but wait, life is pushing me this way. Doesn't matter. Grind, swim. And this is where a lot of the anxiety comes in, right? Anxiety about the future. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. This is not Wu Wei. This is not a flow state. This is not increasing your ROI. On the other end, and you see this sometimes, I've seen it in Latin American culture, I've seen it in some Asian culture, it's the opposite. It's too allowing. It's like, oh, let's just go with the flow, really slow. I don't need much. And then you just swept away by the river and you don't even know where it's taking you. And so neither one, making things happen and allowing things happen too much, both will lead you into drowning, or you might end up in a river you weren't expecting, and it may not be for your highest good. So this is where like the balance comes into play. And this is where you can cultivate it with some of the things we're talking about: breath, setting goals, having structure, having discipline, daily doing things for your body, soul, and mind that are going to initiate you into partnering with the river. So sometimes maybe you need to make a course correction. You need to do some strokes over here. Okay, I need to swim into this current. Other times, the river is getting really strong, and if you swim against it, you're going to suffer. So that's a time to breathe in inspiration and float. Sometimes floating is the best thing to do when the current's really strong, because the river will take you to the safest route if you allow it. If you try to deviate, and anyone who's gone canoeing or kayaking in rapids knows this, shout out to all my homies back home from Boy Scouts. We did some crazy things. If you try to fight the river, yeah, if you try to fight the river in a rapid situation, you can end up hurt or drowned because you will get broken on the rocks. But if you find the groove and you just light touches, the river will take you through the perfect area of the most turbulent water. And that's a metaphor for life if I've ever seen one. You know what I'm saying? So Zulu, I think we'll take like one or two more questions, and then I want to make some announcements here. So we got some exciting ways to implement this stuff, y'all. So if you have any questions, drop them in now in the comments. Let us know.
Debbie says, I think my own personal fears about judgment hold me back from diving into my full potential. How can I move past these fears? Great question.
It's a great question, Debbie. And not having more information, you know, judgment's a real tricky one. And it's really, are you fearing judgment from others? So your parents, your family, your coworkers, what will they think if I do X? What will they say if I go all in on Y? This is a tricky position to be in. And if it's judgment from yourself, that one's even trickier, because the self-critic can be the most brutal and the most ruthless. So when I say judgment, how does that make you feel? When you hear judgment, how does it make you feel? For me personally, I'll answer my own question. It makes me contract, right? It puts me in a kind of a defensive posture. Don't judge me. Like, I am worthy. I'll show you. You know, it's like that's a kind of energy that I've definitely experienced in my life. And how can I move past these fears? I mean, I'll just offer one perspective. There's so many. You have to silence the inner critic first. Like if I were you, I would not put my energy on trying to control judgments from outside of you. I would first go inside, and this is where, you know, some kind of flow practice, like you talk about, Zulu, you got to deposit in your flow bank, whether that's a yoga class or that's a walk in the forest, whether that's 10 conscious breaths while holding your belly. The inner fear and judgment has to be silenced. And the way to silence it is not like, be quiet, be quiet. It's just putting attention on it. I see you. Huh, that's interesting. Like, there's a real curious, just like at the beginning of the video, that light inner smile, that light curiosity. Oh, it's interesting. My mind is judging this, you know? And creating a little separation, a little gap between that voice and your life and your lifestyle and your choices will invite immense freedom. I'm curious of your take, Zulu, on this one.
Yeah, I believe that there is no such thing as a one-sided anything. And the more that we connect with the present moment, the more we realize that is. So mindfulness is a combination of sensory acuity, so having accurate perception of what we're sensing, our sensations, and being able to go, okay, this is a feeling of heat. This is a feeling of coolness. This is a feeling of tightness. This is whatever it might be, the sensation, being able to understand the senses. And then it is our ability to concentrate. So our ability to be able to focus on one particular point without worrying on whatever else is going on. So the ability to stay with whatever is in any moment. And then the third part of mindfulness is to have equanimity, to realize that whatever is, and we don't want to hold on to it. Oh, this is so blissful, this state. oh, this is so painful, this state. So it's like, if it's so blissful, like, we're going to want to cling to it and hold on and not let the river go. If we're like, oh, this is painful, I'm going to want to cling on and get the fuck out. Right. So we don't want to be averse to anything. We don't want to be so attached to anything that we hold on to it. And this is equanimity, realizing that whatever is now will soon not be. So the more that we come into the present moment, the more we realize that nothing is only one way. So if we're judging ourselves, I'm too much this, I'm too much that, I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that, realize, as soon as you have that judgment, realize that the opposite is also true, and that nothing is ever one-sided. And if we are too much one-sided, then life gives us depression, anxiety, worry, blame, criticism, all of this stuff to help bring us back into equilibrium. Right. So as soon as we're one-sided, don't look at, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm worried, all this as like something's wrong with me. Look at it as a feedback mechanism from life showing us that we're out of balance. And then once we listen to it, it'll bring us back into balance. And then when we live from this place, we have access to that river of inspiration of life so that we can expire and, be present and be in the world.
That's it. That's it. That's a powerful closing riff right there. That's it. I'm going to absorb that one fully into my upper dantian because that feels so good. Anxiety and worry about the future or the past are signals and invitations to come back to the present and to come back to your true nature, which actually is in the river of inspiration at all times. It's just, what is your level of access? What is your level of awareness? So a lot of perspectives there. I'm sure everybody could take something from it. Debbie, I hope that makes your question a lot clearer. But yeah, this has been an experiment, Zulu. We literally are putting into practice what we're talking about because we were having these ideas. We've done a couple videos. I've been on your podcast. And then we're like, dude, let's launch a series and let's do it on ROI and let's do it on investment, impact, and inspiration. And so this has been a wild experiment in what we're talking about, which is picking dates, picking times, going all in, going downstream. We're in the river, we're going downstream. And this is what's exciting. And this is what happens next. For all the people, like, how do we do this? How do we implement it? What are we going to do to harness the inspiration? Well, guess what? We want to invite you into a 7-day challenge with us. A 7-day challenge group. We have it here on Facebook. We want to do 7 days of consistent, accountable practice in a fun, creative way, but also a way in which you fully show up. Where you, no matter what your inspiration is, no matter what your occupation, you can show up with us and go into a container of 7 days of flow. And what's that going to look like, Zulu? Where are we going to go with that?
So I'm thinking we're going to base it. We've been basing this. What naturally has come through is the chakra system. And each of these talks, each of these 3 episodes have been based. We've been moving upward in the chakra system. The first 3 chakras were the first talk. The next 2 on last week's, and this week we've been focusing on these 2. So I imagine that each day that it will be Monday, Tuesday, all the way through to the. I know we're on a Thursday now, but we might start off on the Monday, for instance. Right. Go through on the chakra level, so that day 1 we're focusing on vitality, physicality. How can we experience flow on the physical level? How can we experience flow with our root chakra, really basing, having a strong foundation? Then moving into day 2, which is about community. It's about our tribe. It's about our creativity. Moving up into our identity, our power center, into the solar plexus, and moving up on the 4th day into that heart space. So on and so forth. So we're moving up, but at the same time, life is a torus, right? Life is a toroidal experience of making it happen and allowing it to happen. So in that, as we're moving up, like it is today, we're moving up, but now we're actually grounding it in. How are we actually going to bring this down into physical reality? So if anyone wants to actually experience that, and if there's any people that you feel it might benefit, I invite you now to share this live. You can click share it on your wall if you'd like to do it with someone. Having other people to do it with is very helpful. I know for myself, if I have to go to the gym by myself, I'll go for a few months, but it kind of gets a little bit boring. If I have a training partner, I'm going every day for the year, right? And beyond. So if you are getting value from this, definitely hit share it on your wall, invite people to the 7-day flow challenge that we're about to run. absolutely free as well. Like we're just giving a whole bunch of value here. We're not charging you guys anything. Just coming with a strong intention. I love that the trains are like, yeah, the train is
The
open.
train, it's a breakthrough train. It's train says yes, spirit says yes.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, and as well, there's nothing to lose, right? So it's like you absolutely nothing to lose, everything to gain. It's all going to come down to that intention. Like how strong is your intention to drop into this flow and actually allow flow to guide you, which is what we've been talking about the past 3 weeks, right? It's like how we can use flow to increase that return on investment. You know, how can we increase that ripple of impact? How can we increase our our ability to tap into that river of inspiration and use it to actually bring down into the earth, into physical reality? Because we don't want people just here being inspired and that's it. Oh, I was so inspired by Kevin and Zulu's talk. It's like, yeah, show us. Like, how did
Cool.
that look in the world, you know?
Cool. We want to see it in the physical. We want to see it in the physical. So, a physical action you can take and go on this journey with us. We're going to have a link in the comments. This is a closed Facebook group. So, we're not just letting everyone in. There's going to be some questions. We want to know your intention. We want you to show up with purpose and what you want to receive, and also your email address so we can keep this tribe tight knit and go deep. We're going to go through the 7 energy centers. We're going to go through 7 days of flow and accountability with this little tribe we're going to create. It's absolutely free. Join with the link in the comments. And again, like Zulu said, bring a friend. This is a fun accountability challenge to do with someone. Can you sustain committing to flow every day and whatever your flow state is? And we're gonna provide a lot of creative opportunities and options for you, but really it's about your unique power and purpose and showing up. All the people on this video in the comments that are like, I have anxiety, I don't know what I'm doing, how do I get past this? Join the group and we'll find out if 7 days of consistent inspired action aren't enough to jostle you loose off the riverbank and get you back into that river of inspiration. So that's what's going on. That's what's sacred. That's what's happening.
Jostle, I like that word. I haven't heard that word, jostle off.
You don't hear it often, but you get jostled, like a little jostle. You get wiggled loose because some people are stuck on the bank, and I want to jostle you off so you can get back into the flow and move into ROI. So we're gonna have that link in the comments to the Facebook group. Zulu, I think we'll start on Monday, right? So we get a clean 7 days.
Exactly. So yeah, make sure you're registered. You've got the request to join by the Sunday. Make it happen now. We'll put the link up. Click on it immediately. You can share that link. Share this live as well, so people can actually understand. And we'll link back to the other 2 episodes as well, so people can have over the next few days they can go and retouch base with episode 1, retouch base with episode 2, so they can go, okay, cool, this is what it's all about. And you can see that we've been living what it is that we're talking about, right? We've actually been applying the formulas that have been coming through, and that's exactly what we're talking about. We get to experience the flow as it's happening. We get to experience life as it's happening. We set the intention. We don't know. We set our purpose. We set why it is that we want to do, and this comes from before that. This comes from our intention, it being present and going, what is my intention? For me, it's courage. It is, the courage to face up and look at the scary stuff. For me, it is to serve as well. That was my intention on my birthday, which was like a month ago. And, and this is how things are birthed now. I've been like, oh shit, this is scary. Oh shit, how can I serve more? And then all of a sudden the universe goes, okay, Kevin, hey, Zulu, let's get together
Let's
and
do
see how
it.
we can serve more. And we're experiencing this as a meta experience of what it is that we're espousing at the same time.
Totally. This is an experiment, y'all. We want to do it with you. 7-day challenge group. It's going to be in the comments. Hope to see you all there. We're going to start on Monday. So have your application be in the group. We'll set all the guidelines and rules like in that group. So we have the most effective, efficient container to reach your ROI and flow state. This has been episode 3. What's up?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is like I have people I know you probably have mastermind groups and like the return on investment as well. A lot of people for our time, it's like they're paying the big bucks, or they're paying like lots of time to have our time. We're giving this away for absolutely free. Like we're just giving our time that you can join in with us in those other groups as well, but here we are just giving you our attention, our time, our magic, our downloads that are coming through. So definitely make the most of this opportunity. Like definitely tell your friends, bring a friend, because it's not like this is something that's going to happen every day. If you were here now, somebody mentioned earlier, they realized they were here, they were put here for a reason, or there was like, oh, I knew there was a reason why I was put on this live, because it was to take that next step. It was to jostle themselves free. It was to really enact. So don't be that person who watched this and then next week go, oh, why did I miss that opportunity? Or that would have been so great. Be the person who says, you know what, I'm just going to trust. I'm going to jump in and see where it takes me. Because
Bingo.
if you were put here, you definitely were put here for a reason. And there's lots of magic to be had through both of us putting our time and attention and our energy into this. So definitely make the most of it.
That's the word. That's the word. If you're watching this right now in the present moment, or you find this video later, join our challenge group. 7 days, flow challenge. This has been Reframing ROI episode 3. I think everything's been said. Sat Nam, brothers and sisters, Zulu, once again, in flow, in service to that river of inspiration. Peace, powerful family. Tag someone in this that needs to join the group with you. As you already said, share it out. Love you guys so much. We'll see you in the group. Ciao.
Let's flow, yeah.
Let's flow, fam.